Welcome to today's Deep Dive Explainer. So, if you're gearing up for the CELPIP exam, you already know that building a massive vocabulary can feel, well, like climbing a daunting mountain. But what if there was actually a shortcut? Today, we're going to look at a seriously effective strategy, mastering suffixes. We'll analyze 15 essential core words to show you how learning suffix rules doesn't just add a few random words to your toolkit, it's literally a vocabulary multiplier, and more importantly, a cultural bridge straight into Canadian English. Once you understand the ends of these words, you're going to instantly grasp their part of speech and their underlying meaning. Let's get into it. Think about this question for a second. Memorizing words one by one, it's just slow and honestly kind of inefficient. But learning suffix rules? Now that is like unlocking a high-score cheat code for grammar. It lets you rapidly expand your vocabulary and instinctively pick up on that crucial Canadian cultural context you need to ace the test. Just recognizing a suffix can instantly tell you if a word is describing a trait, an action, an abstract concept, or a specific type of person. It basically takes all the guesswork out of your writing and speaking tasks, handing you the exact precision those evaluators are looking for. Okay, here's our agenda for today. We'll start with adjective suffixes for high scores, then move to verb suffixes for professionalism, cover noun suffixes for advanced writing, and finally wrap up with identity suffixes for listening. Starting off with Section 1, adjective suffixes for high scores, specifically looking at able, and ate. So adjective suffixes generally mean capable of being, and they are absolutely your best tools for vividly describing situations. Let's compare the 5-star word responsible, meaning able to take charge, with unreliable, where we've actually combined the able suffix with a negative prefix to completely flip the meaning. Think about a Task 1 complaint letter. You wouldn't just say a bus was late, right? That's way too basic. You'd state the transit service was highly unreliable and then demand the company be responsible for your financial losses. It just sounds so much better. Now, what's really fascinating here is how a simple descriptive adjective can actually transform into a cultural noun. Take the word portable. It means capable of being carried. But in Canada, when schools run out of space, they set up these temporary classrooms out on the playgrounds, and these freezing, standalone structures are universally called portables. If you casually drop the noun portables into a prompt about education, you are instantly showing a native-level grasp of everyday Canadian life. And here's our final adjective, the 3-star word, edible, which ends in "ible," meaning capable of being eaten. You're going to see this a lot in CELPIP Reading Part 4, which frequently deals with nature or science texts. It's super important to note here that while the word edibles in broader North American culture can sometimes refer to cannabis products, for the strict purposes of the CELPIP exam, edible purely refers to safe-to-eat food, like, for instance, distinguishing between toxic and edible plants in a wilderness survival scenario. Moving right along to Section 2, verb suffixes for professionalism, featuring ate and eyes. Verb suffixes are incredibly powerful because they signify making something happen. They basically turn static words into dynamic actions. Let's look at the 5-star word terminate. In a Task 1 letter, you could just say, "I want to end my lease," but honestly, that's pretty weak. Saying you wish to terminate the lease uses that highly formal language expected in Canadian real estate, and it instantly elevates your professional register. Next up, we have the 4-star word criticize, using the eyes suffix. Now, Canadian workplace culture heavily values inclusivity and politeness. Outright attacking an idea is definitely frowned upon. So if you're tackling a Task 2 prompt where you happen to disagree with a proposal, suggesting constructive criticism rather than just plainly criticizing shows that you really understand the cultural expectation of friendly, solution-oriented feedback. Now for Section 3, noun suffixes for advanced writing. We'll be covering abstract noun endings like ness, itty, cision, tation, ment, ants, and ents. These specific suffixes create abstract nouns, which are basically words for concepts, states, and qualities. And let me tell you, they are the absolute pillars of academic writing. Recognizing these endings instantly identifies a word as a state or condition. If you add ment to employ, you get the condition of working, employment. Add ity to mobile, you get the quality of moving, mobility. You'll notice how completion is the state of finishing and comprehension is the state of understanding. Memorizing this little cheat sheet of 8 essential core words will turn your basic vocabulary into a highly adaptable academic toolkit. The really crucial step here is applying these abstract nouns to actual Canadian contexts. For example, employment insurance, or EI, is a major Canadian social safety net term you should know.
Mobility issues and disability parking are the politically correct standard terms that reflect Canada's huge focus on community accessibility. Quality assurance is your standard corporate speak. And in real estate or education, you don't just finish something, you reach your completion date or you receive a certificate of completion. Using these exact phrases signals to the examiner that you are deeply familiar with Canadian civic and daily life.
Let's look at two of these specific state of being nouns in action. The 5-star word confidence is an absolute golden attitude word. In speaking task 5, where you have to persuade someone, stating that you have complete confidence in a choice is incredibly effective. On the flip side, the word stubbornness, the state of being rigid, is just perfect for describing friction. In speaking task 6, where you might have to explain a tricky situation, describing a colleague's stubbornness as a root of the problem is a precise and supernatural-sounding way to articulate a conflict. And rounding out our nouns is this fantastic, slightly dramatic Canadian phrase, "It's beyond my comprehension." Comprehension, the state of understanding, is really elevated here. If you're writing a task 1 complaint letter about terrible customer service or maybe a completely unfair parking ticket, you wouldn't just say, "I don't understand." Saying a company's lack of basic service is beyond my comprehension adds that perfect level of formal, forceful dissatisfaction that evaluators just love to see. Finally, Section 4, identity suffixes for listening, covering or an ist. When you are tackling the fast-paced listening section of the exam, suffixes like or, and ist are absolutely your quickest clues. They simply indicate one who does a specific action or holds a specific profession. So if you hear the word economy, you know it's a concept. But the split second you hear that ist at the end, economist, you instantly know you're listening to a person, and their specific opinions will likely be the focus of the questions. These identity suffixes act as your immediate context clues. In listening part 6, the news segment, if the audio introduces a chief economist, you can instantly anticipate that the dialogue is going to focus on inflation or government policy. Or in everyday conversations, hearing about an actor hints at a very specific context, since cities like Vancouver and Toronto are massive film hubs, often referred to as Hollywood North. Identifying the profession instantly frames the entire scenario right in your mind before they even finish the sentence. So there you have it. We've broken down adjectives that describe with precision, verbs that drive professional action, abstract nouns that build advanced arguments, and identity suffixes that unlock fast-paced listening. Mastering these 15 words and their suffix rules really is the ultimate vocabulary multiplier. The big question now is, which of these 5-star words are you going to purposefully integrate into your next practice test? Don't just recognize them, actually use them, and watch your proficiency and your score completely transform. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep up the great practice.